Hey, if you are a real estate investor, you've ever thought about investing in real estate, or you just want to hear an incredible story of someone that has gone from the lowest of lows to incredible success, then I think that you're going to enjoy this interview that I'm doing with Shane Garza. Shane is the owner and CEO of Shane Adams Real Estate. He is also the owner of Evolve Real Estate Coaching. And if you watch any of his social media, you'll know that he's chief officer of loading stuff in the back of pickup trucks and U-Hauls. Shane, you do it all. I'm guessing you have several more titles that we missed. But thanks for joining us today. How are you, sir?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for having me.
So Shane, your story, and we're going to get to it, is one as a real estate investor who's really you've grinded your way from zero to great success. You've turned that into coaching now, where you want to come alongside people and help them get into the business. But I think your background is super important for people to hear. I get the sense that you feel like it's been a motivator and a driver of getting you where you are today. So I want to start there. And you posted on social media a very vulnerable post that started with the line, "Jail is better than college." So, hey, talk to us about that post and that line and what that means to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, obviously, I kind of knew that would catch people's attention, but in hindsight, it really has been, at least in my personal experience. I can't speak for everyone, but I didn't have a lot of discipline going into college. I, started focusing too much. I was in a fraternity, focused way too much on partying, and didn't and quickly, over the years, I went downhill. I found, when I first got to jail, that I was very standoffish. I didn't want to be around people, and then you put a bunch of people that have committed crimes or done something wrong in a concrete box, and you expect them to come out better. And most of the time they're not. They're going to come out better at crime, or, because that's all the discussion entails. But over the years, I, worked on I just read a lot. I became very well read. I had a lot of books sent into me and just kept to myself. And I realized, like I spoke about on that post, is that there's never going to be another opportunity like this for me, like where I literally have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of free time to just work on myself, to focus on who I am as a person, to really, become more educated and obviously the real estate space. But, there's just a lot that you can do with that free time. And it's really up to us to, decide how to utilize that. And so I wouldn't say it was right up front. It was probably 2 years, a little over 2 years before, I had that, shift and started focusing on myself. And I'm very grateful I did. That picture on that post I was actually a page out of my journal, and it was like the 15-20 reasons why I never want to come back to jail. And I just have a book, a journal just filled up with different things that I wrote to myself to remind, myself, this version of myself, why I never want to be there again, where I was back then. And I even wrote down prayers and, things that I was going through. So going back and reflecting on that today, it's just been really humbling, and it's, allowed me to stay very grounded. So.
Yeah. Shane, thanks for sharing that. You mentioned 2 years. It took you 2 years to get there. Can you share how long you were in total, and what were the 2 years prior? Can you give us a little bit of a contrast? What were you doing with your time 2 years, the first 2 years, versus when you made that change?
Yeah, I was I guess you can sum it up as a victim. I looked at, both my parents have passed away from drug overdose, and I was just mad at God. To be honest with you, I was mad because of my lot in life. I didn't like, I thought I had started, from here, whereas opposed to everyone, is starting from ground zero. And it just was me just trying to get the days to go by as quickly as possible, trying to, and a lot of it was like looking back now, it was just a blur. I didn't realize, the days go past, you're just going through the motions, you're getting up, eating, and, just sitting there and not really doing anything, just trying to get over with so I can get out. And, a lot of people, like another post I had made is about, 2 out of 3 people will commit a crime, once they're released. And so I very easily was, could have fallen back into that habit, those routines, once I got out.
Yeah. So first 2 years, kind of just wasting the time away. Something clicks in you. You take those next 2 years and really start investing in yourself. You had another quote in the post that really hit me. You said, I lost myself in college, but I found myself in jail. Is that kind of that transformation, or what would you add to that?
Yeah. So it definitely, I was, I had a lot of good opportunities when I was in college. I did some really good internships. And, I was really on the fast track to have a lot of success early on. But quickly, my focus was on partying and drinking and girls, and just nothing to do with, I didn't, looking back now, I really didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted my identity to be. And so, yeah, I'm going back to finding myself in jail. It's because I was able to sit down, reflect, and just have a lot of, to just sit there with my thoughts, and just meditate and muse and, focus on what do I want out of this life? Because my expectation prior to that was that I wouldn't live past the age of 25. So.
That's I appreciate you sharing that, man. And again, I wanted people to hear that, because where we're going, what we're going to talk about next is I'm guessing that you're using that stuff from your past in your real estate business and in your coaching. So let's talk about that. From jail to real estate success. I mean, you don't get there overnight, but how did that journey begin? What moved you into real estate?
So when I first got out, I moved directly into a halfway house. I was on HIP. It's the home incarceration program. So I had the ankle monitor. I didn't have my license, and I was required to report weekly. And within, I think it was May 9th, I got out, and by May 12th, I was able to find a job at a factory. And I just stuck my head down and grinded, right, and just knew, where I wanted to go. I had to take the bus, and I used to pay my buddy $5 a day to give me rides back and forth from work. But I worked my way up through this company. I was on the floor, on the plant floor, and moved my way up to a supervisor, a quality supervisor. And it's unfortunate, and it's been bittersweet, and it's but my mother passed away, and my brothers and I ended up splitting an insurance policy. I got $25,000, and so I kind of saw that, as a gift from her, and to do, and what I really have always wanted to do. And so I ended up finding a passive investor who would fund or finance the rest of the deal, and then ended up working with this guy Paul. Like, he was old. I think he might still be alive. He's like 102 years old, but he was a World War II veteran and had been in real estate, his whole life. And I honestly, to this day, I can't remember how I found him. I don't remember, but he ended up kind of kicking me a bone. He knew he was kicking me a bone. He sold me a property pretty cheap, and I split the deal 50-50 with this passive partner. And I would just work on it on the evenings and weekends. So I'd go there on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and just work on this while I was still working full time. I did that with probably 2 to 3 properties, and then I ended up, making the leap to a full-time investor. I probably did it too early, looking back now, but I was just so excited. But it did put me in a mindset of like, hey, you're either going to sink or swim. You're going to, fail or succeed, and it's all on me. So I just focused on this 24/7 and joined the local RIA group, gotten some back pockets of very successful people locally, and just, had that hunger, had that drive to succeed. And over the past 5 years, it's just, I've been very, very blessed. It's been awesome.
Shane, I picked up on something there that I want to ask you about. You talked about the buddy that gave you a ride from work. this gentleman that kind of threw you a bone. How important have others been in helping you along your path?
Oh, I mean, yeah, you relate. It's not the old phrase, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I think people can sense, whenever you have a lot of passion, it's almost contagious or infectious, and people appreciate that. And so, if my thought process is I can't help you if you're not going to help myself. And I think other people are like that. And so when I'm trying my best to get ahead of any problem and make this as easy as possible for them, and set it up in a way that, hey, look, I'm here to provide a return, right? This is an investment. You're not, there might be risk associated with it, but you're making an investment and we have a long road ahead of us, and so I think, yeah, having people around you is going to be, very, very important.
Yeah. Well, and now you're turning the tables on that, trying to come alongside people and help them as they dive into real estate investing. We will get to that. Shane, talk about your first investment. I know you had the one where you were alongside someone, but let's talk about that first one that you did on your own. I've flipped some properties. I've done some real estate investing and certainly walked alongside investors. The first one for me was terrifying. I didn't know what to expect. I'd read all the books, I'd watched all the YouTube videos, I'd listened to the podcasts. But when you sign those papers and you're handed the keys, it's you. So talk about your first investment on your own.
Yeah, I remember when we did the closing, the guy, I was almost shaking, like my heart rate was just going a million miles a minute. And he's like, just calm down, grasshopper. He's like, you're fine. And, I knew this was huge. And so thereafter, I ended up, meeting with a bunch of different contractors who knew way more than me. I didn't know half, of what I should have known. And it's funny. I remember being at Home Depot one time. He's like, hey, we need to go get, baseboards. And I'm like, okay. So I walked to this aisle and I'm looking at something and it was like crown molding or something like that. And he's like, why are you? And I was like, oh, I just wanted to look at this. But anyways, I framed it a lot of times as like, hey, look, I'm going to trust your experience. I'm going to trust, what you've been doing and go with, your, the direction you'd like to go, as long as it makes sense within the budget. And so, it's definitely a mindset thing. Like if you think you can, right?
Yeah. Well, and I've talked to investors about this before. People who they've started listening to the podcasts and they've read some books, but they just can't get over that hump. And I say, look, the best way to jump off a cliff is to grab somebody's hand that will jump off with you. So you sound like you started out with a partnership. With that first one, you said maybe you started out with $25,000 as an investment. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
you had in your pocket, but you still needed someone else to help you the rest of the way financially, right?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So what is it that you like? You've done how many properties now have you flipped or wholesaled?
In total over the past, I don't have the exact number, but I would say it's over 200
Okay.
that we've done in the past 5 years. So
What is it that real estate investing does for you? Why do you like it?
well, I've never been good with authority, so they they say that entrepreneurs will work $80, I mean $80, 80 hours to not work a 40-hour work week. And at the time I didn't realize how many hats you had to wear. You've got to be HR, you've got to be an accountant, and so all these things come with being a business owner. It's just the freedom, right? It's the freedom that comes with it. And I think more so than even the income, because money's just a tool, right? It's a means to an end. And so it's been able to provide me and my family with, a way of life that I love my life today. I love the ability to get up in the morning and not be on someone else's agenda and kind of figure out my day. And a lot of our business, I'd say 80% of our business is automated today. So I can do it from my phone. I can go out, on my kayak and go fishing, and I'm signing contracts out there or, answering title companies. And so it's a very, fortunate way to live. So
Yeah. So you started with one property that you needed some help with. Kind of paint a picture for us now. I mean, I've did some prep work and looking at everything that you have going. Paint a picture of what your company looks like now, what kind of success that you've had.
So we originally had 9 people, and we have over the past 3 months have slimmed that down to 5. Um, Things are sitting, so I'm sure you're aware of this, but we prior to July, we had never had a property on the market that sat longer than 7 days. And I have 4 that are sitting right now that have been on the market over 4 months, and we've dropped the price, incrementally, but that, I guess that's the new norm, and we're kind of making shifts, to address that.
Okay. All right. So you've had success. You've built a company. You're building a coaching company as well. Let's talk about that. If someone says, "Hey, Shane, I'd love to take that plunge into real estate. I like what I hear." What do you recommend for them? What's the first things that they should be doing?
So the first thing is I would say go to your local RIA meetings. Go and they have them usually. I think it's around $30, at least locally for us. It's $30 to go to the monthly meeting, and there's all sorts of people in there in different, spots as far as their real estate journey. And I would just start asking questions, start building those relationships. Like, we have a goal too. I've brought my coworkers there with me, and I said, hey, listen, we're not allowed to leave without 5 business cards each. And so you start those relationships, and then you follow up on it. You follow up within a week and say, hey, look, I enjoyed talking to you. Do you mind if we go sit down, grab lunch, and start? People will allow you to actually pick their brain without charging you. But and build those relationships, because there's a lot of people, that have done real estate for a long time, that have money sitting in their IRA that they want to deploy, and they will invest in you before they invest in the deal. So they'll kind of feel you out, and if they believe in you and believe in your story, they're going to take a risk on you. If you bring a decent deal to the table, you're going to have no problem finding somebody that will invest with you.
Yeah, that's a great tip. A lot of people I talk to say, "Hey, start with the books and the podcasts." But going to the RIA meeting, those are people that are there knowing why they're there, to meet with other investors. And so they're going, like you said, if they have any inclination of handing you money or helping you invest in a deal, they're going to invest in you first. So I love that tip. Anything else that you think that people should know that they're looking to get started?
Yeah. So shameless plug, I do have a coaching program. But I shared that. I don't know if you're going to share that, Mike, but I'm fine with it if you want to put that outline out there. And people are, depending on, my focus is going to be primarily on people going from 0 to 1 deals, and then the mid range from, somebody maybe that's flipped a house or has 1 rental, and then from 3 deals and above that want to scale and automate their business. And so this goes into, CRMs, and then what lead channels to do. I think early on, people should, you don't want to spend a lot of money. They have a great app called Deal Machine. I'm friends with the owner of that company, and he you can literally just drive for dollars, drive through neighborhoods, find an old house, and it has the information in there for you. And you can right there, as you're sitting in front of their house, either get in touch with them through the phone or send them a piece of direct mail, and then you can add that to your CRM and follow up with them later. But the thing is the barrier to entry for wholesaling and real estate investing is pretty low up front, but you have a lot of people. Because of that, you have a lot of competitors, and so you've got to stand out. And I think the biggest thing is following up. Follow up. If you find a deal that you even think is remotely a good deal, just ensure that you follow up based on the timeline that you've talked to that person about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm a big book guy, so I read dozens of books. I listen to the podcasts. There's tons of podcasts out there now. Like you said, the barrier of entry is pretty low. So we've got a lot of people feeding information to you, and it's all great. What Shane is doing, what I want people to hear is what you're doing is helping people shorten the learning curve faster than they can if they go and grab a book or even listen to a podcast, you're going to lock arms with someone who's done hundreds of deals and say, give me your experience in real time. So that's what you're getting with the coaching program. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but you're literally locking arms with someone who's gone before you and can say, hey, dummy, stop looking at the crown molding. We're in the wrong aisle. Let's go over here. And so that's what Shane's offering. Yeah, I'm going to link to, you sent me a Calendly link. I'll link to that. I'll point people to your website so they can see what you're working on, even link to your social medias where you're putting out a lot of free content that's good right now as well. So we'll definitely point him that way. So the coaching program, just give us kind of the basic outline of what that looks like for folks.
Yeah. So again, it depends on where you're at. But I've got a couple of clients right now that we're working with, and I've got one that has done, he's done one wholesale deal, and it was actually a smoking deal. He made 30,000 on it, but he's looking to the scale and automate, right? This is his primary focus. He's doing it full time. And, we're going to kind of dive in and create clarity around what your vision is. We do something called a VTO, and we'll do a 3-year plan. We'll say, hey, look, where do you want to be in 3 years? And if you're anything like me, you'll set these goals and you realize, quickly, maybe over the next year, that you're like, man, I'm limiting myself. Like, I can really accomplish a lot more. I remember my first initial goal was like, hey, in 10 years, I want to be able to have $10,000 a month in passive income. And I was like, I thought that was huge. I was like, man, I'm set if I can do that. And literally within 3 years, we had accomplished that. And so it was almost, it opened me up to the fact that my mindset is what's limited me. So we're going to speak a lot about that. We're going to talk about the different channels. And then I can't harp on this enough, but KPIs are huge. It's an acronym for key performance indicators, but it's just, you can't improve what you don't track. And so at least for our business, we may over track things, but Mike, I know you know Sean. Sean's actually the one that I learned this from, but you want to track the things that change people's behavior. So track things like, what's your cost per deal, what's your cost per transaction, and maybe this is further down the road, but even early on, track how many people you're talking to each week, track how many phone calls you've made, track how many houses you've seen, and ensure that you're following up with these things. So we're going to set the path, and it'll be, I'll be an accountability partner. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to nudge people, and we basically meet every 2 weeks, and I'm just going to be there for you whenever in any situation where you have a deal that needs evaluated. And then also, I'll make introductions. I have lenders and other people that I work with that will help you, get started on your first deal, and they will, I've co-signed a loan for someone before, just to help them do their first deal. And so I think, I'm 100% to being in people's corner, and, obviously paying it forward because of where I've been and where I'm at now.
Yeah. So much in there, Shane. You deal evaluation, that's huge for either first investors or people who are only done a few deals. Hey, will you look at these numbers for me? You're an experienced guy. You've got measures and formulas, so you're going to walk through that with them. Hand holding when they get stuck. One of the biggest things that I heard you say that I don't want people to miss is this. Yes, you're going to be there for those people who haven't done a deal, help them make that dive into the real estate investing world. But for people who have done 3 deals, 4 deals, 5 deals, they often get caught in that just head down, find one next deal, or I've got to get this order of materials in. You're going to help them look up and say, hey, let's yes, find the next deal, but let's look at the big picture so we can see what's 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and even help them elevate what they're thinking. Hey, I want to try and do 5 deals. Hey, well, maybe if you follow my systems, you can double that or something of that nature. So that is real value that you don't want to miss. If you've done 1 to 3 deals, get someone that can help you see the bigger picture. And Shane can help you do that. Shane, I want to close with this thought. One last quote that you had in that post, and I shared that on my personal page so people can go see that. Mike Schoonover on Facebook. You said this. I've found failure is an experience which leads to wisdom that ultimately makes us stronger versions of ourselves. Can you elaborate on that? Tell us what were you thinking there?
Yeah, I think failure, there's a quote I love: is failure isn't fatal, failure is feedback. And every single entrepreneur, these guys that we see that we think are just overnight successes, most of the time they've probably been doing it for over 10 years, or they may have started businesses and failed. And it's your success is defined by how many times you're able to get up. So being resilient, being resourceful, and being committed, I think are just huge. If you can do those things and stay consistent, you're going to have no issues being successful.
Yeah. Shane, I'll ask you straight up. Have you failed on some real estate investment deals?
Yeah, I've lost money. I've got there are some videos out there about that too, where I just didn't do my due diligence. I should have. I got lazy, and it goes back to putting things in place. Through, again, touching on the KPI stuff, is like it's all math problems. So it's all about how many. If you want to get X amount of contracts, then you need to talk to this many people. You need to get this many yes once offers. And then the due diligence aspect of it is, hey, we need to make sure every property is going through this pass or fail system of where, hey, look at the floodplain, look at the, get in touch with the health department or the zoning or whatever there may be. It's all in there, and we'll walk through that stuff together. So,
yeah, look, I raised my hand. I've failed on several deals myself. Sometimes that's out of your control, but a lot of times it's within your control to see those things coming. And look, if you've done more than one real estate investment deal, you're going to have failure. The key is to get somebody that you can lock arms with, who can help you see that coming, help you through the failure, help you stay on your feet so you can live to do another deal the next day. He is Shane Garza, owner, CEO of Shane Adams Real Estate. He also is I'm assuming, lead coach and owner of Evolve Real Estate Coaching. Shane, we're going to give everybody all the links. We're going to send them your way. Man, appreciate your story, sharing your background with us. Love what you're doing, and thanks for joining us today.
thanks a lot, Mike.
Hey, Shane and his team are doing an amazing job in the real estate market all across Kentuckiana. And now he's looking to help coach new investors with their first home or help them scale their business. And he would be a great asset for you if you join his coaching program. I'm going to put links in the comments section below. If you have questions for us about anything in the video, or you're new to investing, want to learn about real estate, reach out to us as well, 812living@gmail.com, 812living@gmail.com. I'd love to educate you, and if appropriate, connect you with Shane Garza and his team at Evolve Real Estate Coaching. We'll talk to you again soon.